Hump Day on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. First show on the Wednesday this year with a new crew. Some people have been on here in the past few days, but we're going to start with intros for just our listeners to get to know everyone. So let's start with Mikey.
I'm Mikey. I'm sure some of you guys probably saw me yesterday. Why it's a very complicated story. I'm also a big Blackhawks guy as well.
Nice. Blackhawks, appreciate it.
My name is also Carson. I think we're going to call me Brunos for no mix-up.
Bruno.
I'm a sophomore, broadcast journalism. My favorite sports teams, kind of a mix. Bears, Cubs, Blackhawks. Then we go to Wisconsin, Bucks, and the Badgers.
Wow. Interesting. So you're like half and half.
Pretty much,
All right. That's going to be an interesting blend this semester.
My name is Mason Miller. Simple guy, cheer for the
Oh, appreciate it. Respect the home
Extra
teams. I
points.
like it.
My name is Hunter. I am a freshman with a journalism major. My favorite sports teams are the Packers, Brewers. I've been big on the Brewers this year. I love Jackson Churio. And the Bucks. I love the Bucks too. And like he said, go Warhawks.
Nice. A lot of the home team cheering. I guess you're the odd one out, Bruno. But
I'll take it.
yeah, it makes you unique. But we're gonna go right into our Warhawk thought, which is a little and what the past 2 days have been. It's gonna be a guess that player kind of event where we play Weddle, and it's basically Wordle but for the NFL. So how's this gonna work? Is that I'm gonna point it to one of you guys, and then you give a player, and then we all enter it in, and then we go until we find somebody. So last time we did something like this, it was gotten in like 3 people. So hopefully it's a little bit harder than that, but you never know. So we're going to go the other way this time. And Hunter, we're going to start with you.
My first pick, I'm just go with a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, safe pick. Okay, so AFC. They are in the AFC. The height is always a hard problem for me. The height and age, which is what we were talking about before. 6'2" is the height. He's higher than 6'2", so I'm assuming like 6'3", but AFC, not a quarterback. So, Mason, any thoughts as to who this might be?
Okay, so we're looking at AFC, not in the AFC East. Not a quarterback, but taller than 6'2".
I think he's on defense too.
How tall is Derrick Henry? Oh, wait, does it say they're on offense or defense?
No, this is just the regular one, so it's offense. They're all offense.
Oh, they
Okay.
are.
The harder one is defense
Okay,
included.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested in trying Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, okay. All right.
I can't remember how tall he is, though, so if I just
No
saw-
way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh, okay.
Okay, so not a running back either, and not in the AFC North.
Mine says that it was correct.
Really?
That's why I said no way. Mine says
think
that
mine's-
Derrick Henry
Oh,
was
so
correct.
is it different for every
Oh, is it
person?
different for
It
everybody?
must be.
Let me see.
Wow.
Mine is consistent. Did he click on
Yeah,
the wrong?
mine was
Wow.
correct. See?
Okay, so you know what? We'll count that as a win.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Good job, Mason. So we're gonna move on to this is why we double prepare. I did have a backup topic in case it did happen. So it's just going to be a stadium that you would want to go to that you've never been to before. So I think we'll continue it off with Bruno, and then we'll bring it right back round.
All right, so I came with a couple. Does it have to be NFL or?
It can be whatever.
All right, so MLB, my top one's got to be Fenway.
Oh.
Oracle Park in San Fran. And then for NFL, Arrowhead, Kansas City, just for the atmosphere. Lumen Field in Seattle.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
just
struck
like
my
the
heart
design.
right there.
I've flown over it before in a plane, but never been there, and I like the pictures look cool, so
They
and I
do.
love Seattle, so
Yeah, great picks.
For me, I'm going to the MLB. I love PNC Park. It's easily one of my favorites for the Pirates. Just the background of it out of the outfield is just easily one of the best, if not the best. And I would 100% want to go to PNC Park.
Yep,
Nice.
you're not wrong. I've been there before. Crazy view.
Yeah, I've only been to like two. I've been to Wrigley and I've been to AmFam. That's it.
Yeah, same here.
The
Yeah.
main two.
Yeah, the main two.
Been to Soldier Field.
Soldier Field?
Yeah, it's not it.
Not it. No.
I'll agree with that one as a Bears fan.
I also realized that I didn't really introduce myself, so I'm going to wrap that in with my Warhawk thought. I'm Carson. I'm a senior now. My favorite teams are the Seahawks. I like basically all Seattle sports, so the Seahawks, the Mariners, the Bucks. Those are like my main teams for the most part, and then of course the Kraken for hockey. And my major is journalism. As for a stadium that I'd like to go to, Climate Pledge is probably number one for me just because it was ranked number one for like 2 years. It's one of the newer parks. It's pretty nice. And then, of course, Lumen Field, because I've never been there before, but I've seen so many games there that it feels like I've been there 5 times.
Home of the 12s.
The 12s? Yeah. I'm a hardcore 12, man.
What got you into Seattle sports, if I can ask?
It's a complicated story. I'll be honest with you. I played a game that involved Seattle, and then I realized how indigenous they were. And since my family is Native American, I kind of dove into how the city is itself, and then also I like grunge music. So it was just like
Oh, yeah,
it was
that's a
all
perfect-
built for it.
perfect
Yeah,
grunge spot, yeah.
it was all the best things, man.
I'm huge on soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. So I would love to go to Anfield. That's Liverpool's home stadium
Oh,
in Liverpool, England.
yeah, they got a crazy environment there,
Yeah,
man.
soccer environment is insane. I would love to be a part of that.
That it is.
Definitely the best for sure. Soccer environments.
Yeah,
in terms
they're
of crowd.
they're a whole different environment. I was hoping that, like, for the Brazil game, the football would emulate that a little bit, but it was like 50-50 with it.
Okay, mine isn't even a want. It's a need, or rather, it's a will. I'm manifesting it right now. I will be seated at the Caesars Superdome for the 2025 Super Bowl when the Chiefs drop off and lose to the Packers for the Super Bowl. So I will be at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans for this championship.
Holy,
That's what
wow. That is exciting, and I am
And we're
very
starting with- We're
jealous.
starting with a hot take already.
That's not a hot take. The Packers are going to beat the Chiefs like 32-24.
We gotta
You
get
heard
to
it
the
here,
Super
folks.
Bowl
Clip that,
first,
clip
though.
that. You heard it.
We
I
should
hope that
write
happens.
down so we can potentially make fun of them or call them like the greatest of all time. It's gonna be.
I'm telling you right now. Put your parlays in right now today. Make your bread.
All right. Well, with the Warhawk thought out of the way, we can move into our first topic of the semester, which is WNBA in the post. The postseason for the WNBA recently just started. One series is done, which, I mean, it happened very recently. The New York Liberty are taking on the LA Aces, or the Las Vegas Aces, rather, in the semifinal championship. And the other two that are still going on are the Minnesota Lynx versus the Phoenix Mercury, as well as the Connecticut Suns and the Indiana Fever. So we're just going to be talking about those two that are happening currently, which both have one team winning already. And we're just going to talk about how those go, and then we're going to also talk about the preview for the semifinals. So we're going to start with Bruno for the Minnesota Lynx and the Phoenix Mercury. What are your thoughts on this series so far?
Well, I think theoretically, I think it usually works out like this, but the top half of the WNBA usually is a lot more superior than the bottom, so I do see the Lynx, or they're playing the Liberty, wait.
They're playing the
Mercury
Phoenix
Lynx.
Mercury,
Oh, yeah, that's, okay. So I think the Lynx should meet up with the Sun in round 2.
Oh.
And I think that That could be anybody's series, though, because they only finished 2 games above the Sun in the regular season. They were both in the top. So I do think they'll get past them and play with them. And then I did say the Fever, because they got blown out pretty good. And I think Caitlin Clark's going to have a couple of her college-type games if they're going to stand a chance in that series. So that's what I got.
Yeah, Clark did start out the game pretty good as she did in the regular season for that series. So I think that she'll pop up again and she'll be a dominant force in this upcoming series.
She's going to have to be, yeah.
Yeah, she definitely is going to have to be. I mean, sometimes she pulls the weight, but when she does, it's for the better. Mikey?
Kind of going with him here a little bit, but I think that the Mercury will make it a little bit more difficult for the Lynx, for sure.
That's a shock.
Well, here's the thing, is that the Lynx, from what I've seen, they're not exactly the best defensive team, so it's really if you can just handle their offense a little bit and play some solid defense, but also score efficiently, then you should be able to bring them down. I think the Mercury could probably sneak in one game, but game 3, I'm not going to tell you how that goes because I couldn't tell you. I think it will be a 2-1 series for round 1. The Sun and the Fever, as much as I love Caitlin Clark, it's not going to happen unfortunately. There's just too much star power on the Sun compared to the Fever. I think the Sun will easily win that one. So I think we'll see the Sun, and more than likely we'll see the Lynx in round 2 over the Mercury.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think the Lynx are a pretty dominant team. I mean, especially with Nafisa Collier, where she put up 38 points with a season high and 6 rebounds, 4 assists, as well as Kayla McBride getting up there with 20 points. I feel like that's a pretty good duo for them. So they're also a pretty dominant team. They have been for this season. So the fact that you're saying that they could lose a game is a little surprising to me. But, in sports, anything can and has happened. So
Well, from game 1, I mean, the Mercury had the lead for a little bit, but then the Lynx just kind of snatched it and never let it go. So I think it's just a matter of holding down that high-powered offense. If they can pull that off somehow, or just the Lynx just completely just have a really bad game, I think the Mercury could take game 2, but I think it's really going to rely on the best defensive performance they've ever put up, or the worst offensive showing the Lynx have ever shown up.
yeah, that's true. It's gonna have to be one of the two in order for Mercury to pull through. But a fun fact before I throw it to you, Hunter, is that the Mercury took a 1-point lead with 2 minutes and 6 seconds to play on a layup from Natasha Cloud, who led the Phoenix with 33 points. But I believe that was like their only lead, and then they got just whomped after that.
Yeah, that was in the first quarter too.
Yeah, it was not a pretty performance for them. But I mean, things can change.
95 points is still pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not huge on WNBA, but I've done some research to figure out, what's going on. I think that the Las Vegas Aces are going to win the championship. I'm just going to say that off the bat.
They are a pretty dominant team, and they have been.
With Asia Wilson having her MVP season, averaging 26.9 points. It's pretty good. I think their biggest threat is probably the New York Liberty. Is that them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually a rematch of the 2023 finals. So
Yeah, that's round 2.
yeah, and that it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup for this one. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
But I'm gonna pass it over to Caitlin Clark. I don't think I'm really big on Caitlin Clark. She actually really got me into watching the WNBA or girls basketball. A fun fact is she actually took the Fever to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. So that's pretty impressive. But I don't think they'll get past the Phoenix or the Connecticut Suns, excuse me. But yeah, I'm geared up for the WNBA. It seems pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely the most interesting it's been in a while. I mean, I would say since it was first developed in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I feel like that this is one of their biggest years. I mean, Caitlin Clark is definitely a big part of that, but also you have Angel Reese and some other great players out there that have also really helped the viewership.
Sabrina against Steph in that 3-point contest.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that was another good one. Yeah. So it's all around this like talent that they have is pretty good. And when you have players that were carrying the franchise for a while or carrying the whole league as a whole for a while, like Sue Bird, who retired a few years ago, and these players stepping in, it's great for the viewership for it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Mason?
So to start off with, the games are still like having to go on Friday. To be honest, if I'm a broom company, I'm looking into sponsoring the WNBA as fast as possible because I feel like it might be crazy, but looking at how things are shaking out right now, I feel like every single one of these series might just end up being a sweep, as boring as that is. Because you look at the Lynx, they had a 23-point lead early on. They blew that, and I thought for a second they might have lost the game for there, but then later on in the game they were still able to pull through. That team's just amazing, and seeing them blowing a 23-point lead, and that's the only reason why the Mercury were still really in it. You got to think that as crazy as Nafisa Collier has been playing right now, she's probably not going to let that happen again. She did have 38 points, which is her playoff career high, actually. She's been going absolutely insane. But, I don't know, the Mercury, as great as they did play, you see Diana Taurasi out there. Old lady still got it. 5 for 10 from the 3. She was going crazy, but I feel like it's going to take a whole lot of greatness from the Mercury when the Lynx can pretty much play how the Lynx have been playing for a while and get that win off. And then you go down to the Connecticut Suns versus Indiana. And, you know, I like Caitlin Clark as much as the next guy, but she did not at all have the game that you're looking for from a Caitlin Clark in this situation. 11 points, 4 for 17 from the field, 2 for 13 from the 3. She was out there just throwing stuff up. It wasn't a pretty game from her at all. Our glorious queen did not look like her usual self. I don't know. I feel like the Fever might also just get swept here. They're still an inexperienced team, and I'm glad they made it this far. That does show a lot to how good this team has become based off of last year, going from the first pick to now a playoff spot. But I feel like this is going to be just boring series. Well, not boring, but it's like kind of you know what you're getting.
Yeah, predictable. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just predictable.
Yeah. And
but my favorite team in the WNBA and my favorite player, the real queen, probably the GOAT of the WNBA. At this point, it's getting hard to argue against her. A'ja Wilson, I just like you said,
yeah.
I see her getting her 3rd championship in a row, completing 3-peat. And we're going to have to start having some real talks about A'ja Wilson, her legacy, all those type of things when she does it. She's a great player.
that she is. Now, I will talk about her a little bit as well, but I want to ask you, what would Caitlin Clark have to do in order to bring back the Fever?
So, like, this year?
Yeah, in this series.
Do you believe in, like, spirits and voodoo magic and things of that nature? Or, like, if we're sticking, like,
in
what
miracles?
naturally can occur, unless Jesus goes out there, puts on a wig and, well, maybe not even a wig, he has some long hair. Unless Jesus goes out there in the court and starts hooping with her, it's going to be tough. She's going to have to pull out some crazy, crazy stuff that, when you're asking that from a rookie, we still have to remember she is a rookie after all. As good as she is, this is her first playoff series. I'm not going to expect her to go out there and put on these godlike performances every single time. I feel like we're kind of just wishing on stars if we expect Indiana to win the series, let alone win a game.
She doesn't really have the supporting cast to push her further. I mean, it's only so much one person can do. I do agree with what you're saying there. But before we move on, I'd like to talk about the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. That series before. I know Hunter kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'll throw it to you, Bruno. Just a little bit of the glimpse of how this is going to go. Who do you think is going to come out on top? I know there is a little bit of bias with it, but
yeah, well, the Liberty have been pretty dominant the entire year, led by Sabrina, who can pretty much do it all. They got Stewie too, Brianna Stewart. Gotta love her. And I could see the Aces pulling off the upset though, because like I said, like top 5 teams in the WNBA are way ahead of the pack than the bottom half of the WNBA, and the Aces are not too far behind the Liberty. So, bold take. I think Aces are gonna take it.
I think that's probably the consensus take, just
it's
because.
Not that bold, but
yeah,
I mean,
it's
standing
wise, yeah. I could see where you're coming from with that. I mean, they've been pretty consistent. This is their 6th consecutive semifinals, and especially with A'ja Wilson and Kebby Plum combining for 53 points. They had
For WNBA, that's a crazy amount.
that's a pretty good duo too for that team.
Yeah.
I would probably say the same with the Aces going far. Mikey?
Well, before the playoffs even started, I did one of those brackets, and I was with him. I think the Aces are going to win it all. So
Oh, you did it with Mason or?
No, he said he
Oh,
agreed.
Bruno.
I filled one out.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know who you were. Okay.
But as he said, the Aces should. He thinks the Aces are going to win it all. I think they're going to win it all too. So I think they're going to definitely win against New York. And I know it's bold to say it's definitely going to happen, but as you mentioned, Asia Wilson, absolutely dominant, and I just don't think there's a way that New York will really get past Vegas, who's to me more consistent all-around team, where New York can definitely struggle and stutter at times compared to Las Vegas. So I think the Aces are taking it.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Hunter, do you have anything more to add on to this? If not, then we're going to go into who we think the Aces would go against in the finals.
No, I do not have much more to add on, but I agree with them, all three of you guys. That
I
think
figured
that-
it was going to be a consensus,
I think
yeah.
the Aces, will make it to the finals. Their roster's just, I'm looking at it right here, it's deep. They got the team to win it all.
Yeah, they very well do. And so now the final thing before we move on to the next topic is who's going on against the Aces. This is open across the board, so anybody can first chime in and say who they think's going to go against them in the finals.
I'd say probably the Lynx.
Yeah.
That was what I was going with.
Okay. Yep.
I'd say more than likely, yeah, the Lynx.
The Lynx do seem like the more dominant team between the remaining four.
I think it's the most likely, but I do think if there is, if anything, I do think the Lynx could easily fall as well if their offense does not, explode like they normally do against a team like Connecticut. Because I still think Connecticut's definitely going to blow through the Fever.
Okay.
So I'd say it will be Sun versus Lynx for semifinal. I think the Lynx could take it. I think the Sun could take it too. But I think more than likely it will be the Lynx.
All right. So Lynx Aces, Bruno?
I agree with what he said. That's what I think as well. I think the Lynx will be able to do it, and yeah, that's my prediction.
Fair enough, fair enough. We have talked about them quite a bit, so I feel like
Yeah.
the statistics do show it. Mason?
Yeah, like they said, sometimes the easy choice is the easy choice for a reason. You look at the Lynx and you look at the who could match up the best with the Aces out of the Lynx and the Suns. Sometimes basketball just comes down to an alpha guy, or in this case, an alpha gal. An alpha versus an alpha, you look at them, Nafisa Collier, there's not many players in the WNBA who you can look at and be like, they could really challenge Asia Wilson. But Nafisa, she's, like I said, 38 points is nothing to scoff at in the WNBA. It's nothing to scoff at in the NBA. And so you compare that to WNBA standards, the Lynx got them one. So the consensus is a consensus for a reason sometimes.
Fair enough. Wise words.
I've always thought the WNBA and the NBA is about who gets hot at the right time. That's not going to change my opinion. I still think the Minnesota Lynx will face the Aces in the finals, but you never know. If someone gets hot at the right time, it could go any way. So, but if in the finals, I'm going to give it 3-1 to the Aces against the Lynx.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
I'm happy I went first because it doesn't sound like I'm just following.
All right. Well, I like the words we're spewing here, guys. We're going to move on to our next topic. Life is a fantasy. All right. How many of you guys are into fantasy football? I feel like it's yep. I
Probably
knew
all of
it.
us here.
I knew it. I had
yeah.
a feeling. It's rare where I talk to somebody that watches football and isn't into fantasy.
My dad.
Really?
He
Wow.
does
That
not
seems like
fantasy
the
football.
prime audience.
No, he does not like fantasy football.
Wow.
I don't really know why, but I
Interesting.
know
That
he
might
doesn't.
be. He's got to have a unique story there somewhere. Maybe he lost a league or something. But I mean,
I don't know. If he has, he's never told me.
bad punishment. But with this topic, basically, we're just going to be talking about how some of the players in fantasy have performed so far. Some guys that were under the radar that exploded, some that are underperforming, or some that are just doing just fine. And then before we move on to the next one, we're going to talk about the waiver picks because it is Waiver Wednesday. So I don't believe I've started with Mason yet, correct? Okay, so Mason, who's your fantasy player that you've been surprised on?
Man, my biggest surprise, I think probably almost everybody in the world's, fantasy or not, biggest surprise. Sam Darnold, he just gave me buckets last week. Man, when you look at it, like, I have Justin Jefferson, so it was kind of bittersweet looking at it because every time Jefferson scored, you look back, oh my God, Sam just gave me more points. But, man, Sam Darnold, as a Jefferson owner, when I found out he was going to be the starter, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit, but Jefferson is kind of quarterback proof at this point. But, man, looking at how Sam Darnold has played, like, even when he's not passing it to Justin Jefferson, he's looking like a whole new player. And then you look at it and realize the fact that he's younger than Joe Burrow or the same age. Mm-hmm. And it kind of starts to make sense. He had a lot of room to develop. It might have just been a system thing for him. So he's been a big surprise to me. That's probably the biggest one for me personally.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Baker Mayfield effect where
Yeah.
he goes to a couple of teams, didn't really find a groove, and then he finally found a structure where he can actually thrive on. And honestly, I hope that he would stay there another year or two, but then again, they do have McCarthy, so it's unlikely.
So if you're Kevin McConnell, do you go J.J. McCarthy or do you stay with Sam Darnold?
If I'm O'Connell, I'm sticking with Darnold because I know for sure that that's working so far.
Yeah.
And J.J. McCarthy wasn't really that impressive to me in the draft era either. So if I can have somebody that I can already rely on that's putting me 3-0 already and is thriving pretty good, I'm going to stick with him and have JJ as the backup, at least for a few years. Kind of like the Green Bay effect.
Okay. Yeah.
But, Bruno?
Man, I got to start off with Malik Neighbors,
Oh.
Giants.
As a surprise?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
Dude,
He doesn't.
have Daniel Jones throwing in the
Yeah,
football.
he has Daniel
yeah, I
Jones
mean-
throwing in the football, and he's very young, rookie, and he did score 2 touchdowns last game, and he his last 2 weeks in fantasy, he's scored, depending what kind of league you play in, right around 30 points, which, I mean, you'll take that every week for a wide receiver. I mean, some other names, Rashee Rice as well.
Yeah, he has
He's
flourished.
been getting his fair share. Nico Collins kind of taken away from Tank Dell. Rashee Rice he's doing a lot more than Travis Kelce is. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, which is kind of Travis Kelce's downfall is.
Yeah, I think it was kind of predicted that he was going to have a kind of an off year, start falling off, but
I would
I
just
didn't
say
think
it's
it.
because
I was still high on him at the beginning of the year. So.
Yeah, me too.
I would say a lot of it is because they've been like double covering Kelsey a
Yeah.
lot too, so they've been just
They don't have
leaving
much
wide
receivers
wide
besides
open.
Rashee
like
Rice, so-
That's
and
true, yeah.
Xavier Worthy.
And then the best on my team so far is Chris Godwin. He's been consistent first 3 weeks, and he's looking like Baker's top target.
Yep.
So I love that. He's gotten a lot of targets, putting up
Yes.
points. So.
They laughed at me when I picked him. They were like, "Why not? Why
I
not
know,
get
and
Mike Evans?"
I picked him in 2 leagues, so I'm pretty
I
happy
picked
about
him.
that.
I picked him in all 3.
It's
of them.
kind
I'm
of
pretty
a
happy with
later
it.
pick too. He's not really a top 5 round guy.
No, yeah,
so.
he's. I think I did get him within the 5 rounds though, so that's
Yeah.
probably where I got face palmed at. But
right.
I enjoy.
Who's laughing now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mikey.
I'm going away from more the offensive perspective. I'm going to a kicker. I'm going Brandon Aubrey.
Oh my
Oh, yeah.
gosh,
Brandon
yes.
Aubrey has been absolutely insane. And right now, actually, it would have been smarter to pick Brandon Aubrey than CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Tyreek Hill, which is insane.
Yeah, there was like a list of like
Kickers.
15 top
A
offensive players.
kicker over some of the best offensive players in the entire league is just insane. Another one I got is Jane Daniels.
Oh, yep, that was the
Fantasy-wise,
guy I was gonna say. Yeah.
He's done really well as well. I do think that with his playing style, he's going to take a shot at some point. Probably concussion, something. He's going to be out for a
Ooh.
week. Could be worse. But I mean, he's doing solid. The only thing I really have a problem about him is his passing, because he doesn't. You know, he had a great game against Cincinnati, but if he doesn't pass the ball well, you know, you have to completely rely on his run ability, and if that doesn't go well, he's just going to drop you 5 points. So, but he's done really well so far for 3 weeks. So we'll just have to see how he keeps going.
Yeah, he looks like he'll be a problem in the league for a while.
Yeah, I
It looks
think
like
so.
he could be 100%.
I think that he's probably leader of the offensive rookie of the year conversation right
Oh,
now.
for sure.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
It's-
what?
Sorry.
Malik Neighbors?
Yeah, I was gonna say Malik Neighbors.
I was just I was just gonna say
Malik Neighbors,
Malik.
too.
It would go Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and then Marvin Harrison.
Well, they also
Still a lot of season
they
left.
value
Still a
QB
lot,
so
yeah.
much more. 'cause,
That's yeah.
Right.
I mean,
it's-
Puka Nacua last year had a record-breaking season, and they still put C.J. Stroud as rookie
Yeah.
of the year. So
But I mean, CJ was also playing the level that's like, even for a rookie QB, it's like it was still really good. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
can kind
no
of see it.
denial about that.
They
but-
probably looked at C.J. Stroud as the savior for their complete turnaround
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
probably what that.
the coach.
I mean, hey,
I would have
there
went
weren't
Puka
really a
too,
whole lot of
though.
targets when
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp was
Yeah.
gone last year, though.
Yeah, I would have went Puka too,
When-
so I don't even blame you. For
When
that.
a
I
triple crown
might have.
receiver falls and someone like Puka steps up like that, that's pretty big.
That's true. Yeah. For me, I think a person that I'm not really excited about that's pretty gone down is Anthony Richardson. I mean, week one,
I
he
could've
was like
told you that.
top 5.
could've
No,
told you that
way.
early
no,
season.
no, because
Yes,
week one,
yes.
he was like he was a top 5 quarterback,
No,
and he was
he
like
wasn't.
he was okay.
Fantasy
He went
wise.
Fantasy-wise.
He went 9
This
for
is-
19, and his 216
He
yards
put
was
up,
backed
like,
up by
35
two
points.
60-yard bombs.
He did put up numbers. This is
He
a
did.
fantasy. This is fantasy
True.
topic
That's
after
true.
all.
That's
So,
true.
But then the week after, I had him starting, and then he went like 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. He ran one in, but I was like, at that point, it's too late. Put up like 8
Yeah,
points.
he's got
It's
a
a little too
ridiculous
late.
amount of picks in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I can't,
it's-
it's like 6 or something.
Yeah,
Something.
Well, he's
it's
played
got
good
me
defenses.
nervous for the rest of the season with having him. I did pick up Sam Darnold for that reason, so he's benched now, but I'm not too high on him. But a guy that I am high on that's been doing really well that a lot of people didn't think that he was going to do well is Kyron Williams. I mean, I thought that last week I was like not going to win because he wasn't performing well, but then he late in the game put up like 3 touchdowns and then 30 points, and I was like, thank you. Still lost, but thank you so much.
Yeah, I know in one of my leagues he was projected on like the board like top 12, I think, and I think he dropped to like the 3rd round in a 12
Oh
man.
my
So
dude.
we were sleeping on him. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, you guys were
The other dude would be
slumped on him.
Devon A-Chain, too. A lot of people were skipping on him as well.
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
second in
But
running back.
that was more.
scoring.
I think that was more because of injuries, though, not because of performance. I think it was more because they were
Yeah.
afraid that he
Yeah.
would get injured.
It's just Miami running backs are very injury prone.
Yeah.
I mean, Raheem
running backs
Mostert
are.
right now.
Gotcha.
But we're going to throw it to Hunter. Who's your guy that you're pretty excited about?
So I actually traded for this guy after week 1. I agree with Bruno. Chris Godwin. I think he
Yeah.
has solidified himself, in my opinion, as the wide receiver 1 in Tampa Bay. I mean, this week he's projected 16.2, so he's actually turned into my wide receiver 1 over Tyreek Hill.
Oh,
Not being
yeah.
Tyreek Hill's fault because of their QB situation in Miami, but yeah, he's turned to my wide receiver 1. Someone that really disappointed me that I'm going to shout out is Mark Andrews. I got
Yep,
him in the
yep.
3rd round, and everyone said it was a great draft pick by me, but his recent
Mason shaking his
stat
head.
lines have been awful. I don't know if that plays into Lamar's, what Lamar wants to do, but I mean, I would like to see Mark Andrews get more involved in their offense.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been given likely a lot of.
Yeah, that's. I was
Yeah.
just going to say that Likely seems to be the better guy there now. and
He's
I-
young too. so-
Yeah, and
I
Mark
also
Andrews with his
left.
injury prone doesn't really help his case.
Yeah. I also last week on the waiver wire picked up Juwan Jennings, so
Oh,
he helped
on
me.
the waiver?
On the
Yeah,
waivers?
because
Why are you
I
surprised
knew
about that?
San Francisco offense
People
would be
drafted him.
shaky without Debo or Kittle or McCaffrey. So I picked up Juwan Jennings, and he actually dropped 47.5 points in our league. So that guided me to the win.
Look, how big's your league, Carson?
Oh,
If
okay.
someone- if
I have
people are
3
drafting
leagues.
him,
I have 3 leagues. I have like
you
I have a
drafting
10.
every single
I have
one.
I have 2 10, and then I have 1 12 man.
That's how I
In the
am.
12 man,
Juwan
he was
Jennings.
drafted.
He was not drafted in my. I don't think he was. He might have been on there.
I mean, after that Super Bowl run, a lot of people got
Yeah,
high
it's-
hopes on
yeah,
him.
it's
So
just like just like Gabe Davis.
And when-
after his one
Yeah,
incredible
okay.
playoff game.
All right. Well, this circumstance was a little bit different because during the draft, Ayuk, it was a question
Yeah,
mark if he was
that's
going to be
true.
on the team. So, and it still is
a
because he is not really that great this year. That's another guy to be down and out about.
Well, that's because I think a lot of it was just because he skipped all of training camp, all of preseason, didn't get a single rep until just about the regular season, I believe. A lot of that was Ayuk.
Yeah, that is true. That is
The
true.
whole contract situation and
Yeah.
wanting out of San Fran, and then, oh no, I never wanted out of San Fran.
Yeah. Always the two-face. Yeah. Mason, I don't know if you mentioned, did you have a guy that you're bummed about that he's not playing too well?
Oh man. In one of my leagues, I definitely drafted Travis Kelce. It may or may not have been the auto draft while I was using the bathroom and forgot my pick was coming up. Maybe, allegedly. But Travis Kelce, I'm looking at him and I've heard Taylor Swift's name more after a touchdown than I've heard Travis Kelce's name
It's not a good
in the
sign.
same sentences. So I'm just watching Chiefs games. I'm seeing a lot of Taylor Swift's herself, but not her boyfriend as much as I need to be seeing. And then, besides that, I feel like I've done surprisingly well in almost all of my drafts. So I don't have too many people this year who are letting me down, surprisingly. Besides Christian McCaffrey getting injured, but you can't really. And I had Jordan
Mason? Yeah.
On almost all my teams that I had Christian McCaffrey on. So
Yeah, I should have picked
I'm
him
good.
up on waiver. I have number one
That's-
waiver in one of mine.
That's
Oh,
on
yeah.
you, man.
I
Jordan
skipped
Mason,
on
he's
him because
good.
I thought McCaffrey would be coming back a little bit sooner, and he'll be like, oh, he'll be back. Like,
Oh, he's on the IR, and they just said he went.
now he's
Yeah.
on IR.
He-
He might be out for a year
Yeah,
potentially.
They
which
said
is
he went
crazy.
to Germany or something to get his stuff checked
Yeah,
out.
and that's
Oh,
what was
yeah,
it?
that's not a good
Achilles
sign.
tendonitis, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it seems like back to the tight end, the younger tight ends are producing a lot more than the household names as Mark Andrews, Kelsey,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Laporta is having a down start to the year compared
Yeah.
to what he did last year.
And
But,
he got
Brock,
injured.
Brock
Yeah.
Bowers has been good. Isaiah Likely has
Yeah.
been a surprise. So the younger tight ends are producing. So.
Brock Bowers round 10 will always be one of my proudest picks.
Yeah,
Man,
that is a steal.
I
yeah.
wish I wasn't high on him this season. I was like, no, he's going to have the Darren Waller effect in his last few years in the Raiders. He's not going to be that great. Nope, I was completely wrong about that.
Just a little
I think
bit.
Trey McBride's playing pretty well too.
Yeah, Trey McBride was, I had him as my tight end one on my draft board when I was
Yeah,
drafting.
he's still young too. So.
Yeah, he is. I think this is only his second or third year or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy to follow up on next year. But now I want you guys to, if you want, talk about how your team is doing. Just a little brief synopsis of like your record and your most heartbreaking loss. Just a little sneak. We're gonna start with Mikey.
Well,
The sigh says it
oh,
all.
I have 3 teams, so I got a few to decide. I'll do my one of my 10 mans, the one that I actually paid money for, sadly. So I actually a little funny story about this league was during the draft, like on draft day, everyone got there. I made a deal with a Chiefs fan that if I drafted Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the first round, he would let me choose his first and second round pick and trade for them. So and he had the second pick, so I was able to grab CeeDee Lamb and Travis Etienne, which I regret CeeDee Lamb kind of, but also when you have the second
Another
pick
guy
at
that's a
that
bummer,
time,
yeah.
it's you gotta take that. And I also ended up grabbing Pacheco, so he gave me Scary Terry McLaurin, and Tony Pollard. And Pollard has been pretty solid for me, but my most heartbreaking loss, easily overall, is the week one I had, because I had like the 4th, 5th most points, and I lost to the dude with like the second most.
Oh yeah.
Which was a brutal loss. Week 2, I bounced back though, and I think I had the most points. I'm pretty sure. So I'm 1 and 2 because I actually started Jordan Love last week.
Oh no.
because I didn't pay attention, and I forgot I put him in the starting lineup, and he ended up not playing. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered because I have Matthew Stafford on my bench though, so I would have lost anyways.
That's tough. Bruno.
I'm also in 3 leagues, 2 10-man. One is a no bench league, so that's interesting.
Okay.
Got a pretty stacked team for that, but so does everybody else. 2 and 1 in that one, and then 1 and 2 in the others. My biggest loss would have to be probably Cooper Kupp going down.
Yeah, a lot of injuries this
But
year.
I do
Lots.
have Chris Godwin in that league and another league. A disappointment, I guess. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of him. He had a decent week last week, but Christian Kirk on the Jags, he didn't do much the first 2 weeks. He was all right last week, but I was already losing so bad it didn't really matter. So, but yeah, I started off promising with 3 blowout wins in all 3 leagues in the first week, and then 2 blowout losses, and then so 1-2 and 2-1. 1-2 in 2 leagues, 2-1 in the other. So
Bittersweet.
we'll make our way back.
Yeah. Mason.
I'm in 4 leagues, but the main one I'm gonna look at. Well, I'm actually weirdly 2-1 in every single league, and the weeks that I've won and lost have all also weirdly matched up. But that's because most of my teams I drafted pretty much the same. But in my main league, my money league, man, I feel happy with what I drafted. This is one of my most confident years that I can say I put together. I've been getting very unlucky with quarterback every year. So this year I went ahead and got Lamar Jackson decently early on. He's been doing pretty well for me. I'm not going to highlight the whole entire team, but Breece Hall, he's an amazing. Devon Achane, last week not as great, but that's because the Dolphins are kind of getting thrashed. I'm kind of actually scared for him because I'm not sure if he's going to get more touches or less with Tua being out. I'm hoping more. So I'm hoping he'll be able to eat next week versus Tennessee. He probably will. And then, like I said, Jordan Mason and Brock Bowers, being able to get them. My team's looking great this year. I'm very excited. I'm not going to say the championship is on the way, but I sent the league owner my address so he knows where to ship it when it's time.
I like it. Hunter?
I'm not going to flex, but I am 3-0 to start
Oh
off the
my
fantasy
gosh.
year.
Dude.
In my money league, too, which is awesome. My team's been doing well. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is a big surprise for me.
Yeah.
He's been amazing. I drafted him probably in the 7th or 8th round in our league, so that was pretty good to pick him up. I've been struggling with my 3rd flex position. I have it at Juwan Jennings right now, but I do have Keenan Allen on the bench. I also have Nick Chubb that I'm waiting to come back.
Yeah, I do too.
I picked him up because
Wasn't Keenan Allen also out last week, I think, with a heel?
yeah, he's been out the
Wasn't
last
it?
2 weeks with a heel
I think?
injury. But Breece Hall, he's been amazing for me, and a lot of people, when I drafted Brock Bowers, said he was going to suck, and he's been really good this year. So I've really been big on Brock Bowers.
Nice.
I'm starting him over Mark Andrews. So
Smart
it's
move,
a
yeah.
Very smart move.
I'll give a brief synopsis of my team. 2 of them, one of them I'm 1-2, another one I'm 2-1, and then another one I'm 3-0. So
Okay.
all around, been a pretty good.
I'm 2-1 and then 1-2 my other 2. It's
Oh.
brutal.
That's how I am, yeah.
But it's been a pretty decent year for fantasy for me this year. I haven't really had a chance to look at the waiver wire because I haven't really needed to for the leagues that I really care about. But if you get rid of the injuries, it's been a pretty good year for fantasy. I know a lot of people disagree with that just because of how weird it's been with top players not performing right. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I drafted accordingly, so it worked for me. But we're going to stay on the topic of football and move into the next topic, Whitewater's Wonder. Just a little recap of the Mary Hardin Baylor game, and then their next game on October 5th on Oshkosh. So, what did you guys think of this game? I know a lot of people were not
Ugly.
too happy, but yeah, ugly is a word to
Sad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sad?
Sad to
eight
watch.
turnovers is just crazy. You're not going to win many games doing getting 8 turnovers. So
Especially 3 interceptions and 2 of them being pick sixes in
Yeah.
under 7 minutes.
Yeah, but there was something that during the Monday show that I don't believe they talked about, but from an outside source that told me before the show today, he was sick. The quarterback,
yeah, he
Cinetti was
pulled
sick.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah, he
Oh, yeah,
didn't have a
they-
great start and then pulled himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he tried to pull himself originally, but they didn't let him or something.
yeah, they wanted him to keep
From what I
playing, and
understood.
yeah,
I don't know the whole
something.
story.
I don't know the whole story either. I just know that he was feeling a little
I
under
did
the
see
weather.
He'll be good to go for Oshkosh though.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I'd hope so. That's like 2
Yeah, I
weeks.
know.
So if he's not after that, then
Then there's a concern,
ooh, yeah.
right?
But I just feel like 21-0 at the end of the first quarter is just abysmal to to think about. And Mike, you actually said something that was quite interesting about the first quarter.
Yeah, you get rid of the 21, Warhawks win the game if you get rid of that first quarter.
If you get rid of part of the whole game, they win.
They win. You forget
Think
a whole
about
quarter of the game.
Problem solved.
I honestly think it could have and should have probably been worse than 35-17 as well.
Oh, yeah.
Their defense did get them some good stops. I mean, they are prone to the big play, and I mean, 96-yard touchdown, couple 30, 40-yard passes, but their defense did kind of keep them in that game for the most part, but besides those big plays.
Yeah, it looked like Isaac Fada, AJ Williams was like that duo for them,
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
Mahomes-Kelsey type of duo.
It's,
Man,
it's
that we had
Rodgers and Adams type of thing.
there was some life. I can't remember. I think it was 28-17, and then they had that 96-yard touchdown. Just
Yeah.
took the life right out. But yeah, I thought we were gonna make a comeback there, but yeah.
yeah, life not short. Hunter?
I wasn't able to go to the game, but I can't wait till I get to go to one of them. My takeaways is you can't rely on your special teams to score all the points. 2 blocked punts for touchdowns is very impressive, but that's not going to work every week. I think, like he said, if you get rid of the first quarter, they win, but the first quarter is a big part of football. So, and 2 pick sixes to start off the game just isn't a good start. And I understand the quarterback was sick, but if that was the case, I would have probably made the decision as a head coach, if I was a head coach, to either start him or bench him before the game.
Fair enough. I believe that's the right move to do if they're not feeling there. Put them out there when they're at their best, not when they're at their worst. Because
Exactly.
then, as you can see, it's not going to work out.
I mean, I share lots of the same sentiments. Obviously, anybody with eyeballs will look there and see that's an ugly game. There's some things, usually looks are subjective. This one was kind of ugly is ugly. Like you said, 8 turnovers, you're never going to win a game turning the ball over 8 times. It's just not going to happen. But what I will say is, considering the fact there were that many turnovers, was it really that bad of a loss? Like, you consider the fact they only lost by 18, having that many turnovers. Look, Mary Hardin, they're good, right? But the Warhawks, we are one of the best teams in D3 for a reason, and I believe that we will be able to turn things around moving forward. 5 interceptions split between 2 quarterbacks, that's not going to happen every single game.
Fingers
Crossing
crossed.
my fingers. Hopefully that doesn't happen every single game, but I'm expecting that not to happen every single game. Fumbles, that's kind of just a thing. Ball security. Really, the story of the game is ball security. But then you look at the other stats, and there are signs where you could look at it and find good things out of the game. For example, we outpassed them by nearly 50 yards. They outrushed us by 20 yards, but that's expected when you're playing like you're up, you're going to rush the ball more. But when you look at things like that, there are slight bright spots. The defense didn't play too horrible. I mean, giving up 35 points is never ideal, but 2 of those touchdowns weren't on the defense.
Yeah.
So you look at those type of things, and you're just looking forward. You expect us to bounce back and be able to play better football moving forward.
Yeah, and I agree with you. There are some bright spots to it, not a lot, but something that is good is that we had more yards than them. We had more first downs,
Yeah.
which is something that, I mean, you can get down to it. You can get down to the goal, but you can't finish the job, which is something that's got to be fixed with. I think the play calling in some areas has to be fixed as well. But with their next game, I feel like it's going to be a better matchup with Oshkosh. We've beaten them, I believe it's like 79 times
Oh my
in
God.
history, yeah, and we beat them last year as well by a score or 2. They did also come off another brutal loss. Theirs is arguably worse than ours, 44-7 against Michigan Tech, but that is a D2 team, so
Okay.
you know the skills are a little bit imbalanced there when you think about it. But what do you guys think about this upcoming game? You guys think we can take it? What are some things that we can look for Whitewater?
I think if our quarterbacks kind of gain a little bit more confidence of airing the ball out, because that's one thing I saw against Mary Hardin Baylor was that they seem to be kind of afraid to air the ball out, and instead of, being, like you're on the 10-yard line, you say, you know what, wide receiver's wide open, he beat his man off the release, safety has to adjust, and instead of airing it out towards 40, they instead threw a bullet at the 30, and the safety, instead of having to adjust, was able to just run in front and pick it off. But I'd say that if the quarterbacks most definitely get a little bit more confidence in airing the ball out, just rebound, forget the last game, just completely fully prepare, look for the weaknesses, attack them. I think they'll have it easily.
Yeah, I'd say quarterback confidence. There was a lot of fumbled snaps as well. I noticed offense wasn't in sync very much. So I think once they get some momentum going, biggest thing, they got destroyed at the line of scrimmage, and we didn't really have a rushing attack at all. But Tamir Thomas, starting running back, was out hurt, so he will be back against Oshkosh, and I think that's probably a big key to the game is having him back. So yeah.
Yeah, he is one of our stars, and he had a pretty good year last year, so I think he's in dire need for us.
Yeah, we couldn't
this
do
game,
anything on the ground
Yeah.
last week, so I think
which kind of says a lot about the backfield. Kind of have to
Right.
boost it up a little bit more if he does go down again for a longer period of
and,
time.
their front kind of destroyed us. So there'd be a hole, and then the hole was closed in about a
Yeah.
second. So
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But for Oshkosh, what do you think for them upcoming?
I haven't really looked much into them. I know about their 44-7 loss, but I know before that they had a good start, and I
Yeah.
think they were ranked like 14th before last week. I'm not sure what they dropped to, but it's conference play, so every game's gonna be tough, and I think they need to start off the conference play good because they finished the conference play with River Falls and La Crosse, who are both powerhouses ranked in the top 10. So they definitely can't come limping into those games. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you lose rank if you lose to a D2 school, right?
I don't believe so, no, because that's
Maybe not.
it's
I don't think-
it's a different
they'll drop in
division.
the rankings, so
I'll
I think
hit,
Could be
Google.
wrong, but Mason, what do you think about this matchup with Oshkosh?
Well, being a freshman, I'm not too well versed in all of our opponents, our history of playing against other teams. But like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm all in on the Warhawks. Being a freshman, I'm ready. I'm riding or dying with us, so I'm not going to pick any team against us, especially not Oshkosh. I'm hoping for a good game, a high-scoring game. I hope that I'll be able to go to watch it in person. That should be cool. But I'm just hoping that because we're on a bye week right now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
our
well,
next
okay.
game is October 5th.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, we got this bye week. I just hope they're out there trying to gel the offense more, just get more in tune, try not to dwell too much on the past, try not to dwell on the loss. Just get your head back in the game, quarterbacks, do what you got to do. When did you say our running back's coming back?
He'll be back for the Oshkosh.
Yeah.
Oh, by the next game. So hopefully he's ready. So that'll help with the rushing attack. I feel like all around, like I said earlier, we're a good team. I trust that our coach will do what needs to be necessary to get the team on track.
Yeah, it's usually a more even matchup. I mean, the two teams are very similar in terms of how they've been thus far. So
Okay.
I agree. I think it will be a pretty evenly matched game. Hunter?
This next game's kind of big for me because I have a sibling that goes to Oshkosh, so it's kind of a
rivalry.
But I'm looking at these stats here. Our running game looks very, very good. Honestly, way better than our passing game. They are averaging more running yards per game than passing yards, which is huge. So I believe you stick to what's working, and they start on the ground. And if the ground game doesn't work, you always have that backup option to pass. So I expect them to bounce back. Is the game at home? Do we know if it's at home?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
It's
is at
family.
home.
It's family fest.
Family Fest.
I'm
It's a big one.
I'm expecting a blowout. I don't think Oshkosh is.
A
I
blowout
watched Oshkosh
is
play 2 years ago,
insane.
I guess.
but I don't feel
they,
like they're
they
as
did
good as
drop.
they
They
used
dropped
to
3
be.
That's
ranks.
right.
Oh,
They went from,
they
they
did
went from
drop.
14
14
to
to
17.
17.
Okay.
Right now, it looks like it could be 10 versus 17.
La Crosse
Other-
took our place at 3. River Falls up to 6. So.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Goes to show you that kings can be wrong once in a while.
And wait, real quick, you guys all mentioned something about Family Fest. What is that?
It's just essentially a family can just
Yeah.
come out.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The stadium will be packed. People like to bring their
Yeah,
family.
last year,
go
I
watch
think
the
it was-
game.
Yeah, last year I think there's like 21,000. I think it was a decent
Yeah, I
record.
think it was- it
was a
Attendance
record, yeah.
Last year.
Oh, no way.
And there's
Yeah.
different activities on campus. I know like the Williams Center and stuff like that.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of stuff.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we won't be able to get to Hawks and hockey. I'll make sure that we get to
Oh,
that
dang it.
next week. We will get to that because
Okay.
it's a real fun topic when you get late into the season. But final thoughts is what's up next, just to round up today's show, and we're going to start with Mikey.
Start with me. Well, last time I did Formula One, and I just got
You got
interested.
booed at?
Yeah. Essentially. But one thing I kind of realized, I'm very excited for the Packers-Vikings game coming up. I think that's going to be the true test for Sam Darnold, and obviously Jordan Love, I think, from what I've seen, should be back. So his first game back since probably the scariest injury of my entire life, having to witness that, and my life going into sadness. But watching that game should be very, very fun.
Nice.
Something we didn't talk about, but I'm curious to see what the Badgers do coming off their bye, going to USC, who was ranked 13th, and seeing how Braden Locke performs, which my hopes are not very high, so hopefully he impresses me, and then
That's, I think,
they'll bounce
awesome.
back with Purdue at home, so I think they'll be able to take that one, but this would be a huge confidence boost if they could at least make it a game. So
That's at the
I was
Coliseum
very-
too, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is. It's in LA.
Oh,
I was
that's
very
gonna be
upset
interesting.
that Van Dyke is out for the season.
Oh,
that
no, he
sucked.
was, and if you watch that Alabama game, that first drive, he had us rolling. He was 5 for 5. We were looking
Yeah.
good, and then
I knew as soon as I got the notification that he was with us, I was like, oh my gosh, we actually have a quarterback now.
Right.
And then gone.
hopefully he could do a medical redshirt though.
I mean,
come
appar-
back next year if he wanted.
Apparently, though, Locke and Van Dyke had not a huge QB battle. Like
Yeah.
it was like
I know, that was
all
hard to
throughout the
believe.
off season, but they were having like a little scramble during the off season. So
Okay.
maybe,
So,
maybe
yeah,
Locke
there's-
brings
yeah.
up something that we don't expect.
First game jitters of the year. I don't know.
Maybe. Mason?
I'm sorry to keep the topic on just football, but I'm a football guy. So like you guys said, definitely the Vikings versus Packers game. Looking forward to that a lot. Personally, I feel like if we can sit Jordan Love for another week, there's no real reason to rush him back with as good as Malik Willis has been playing. And lastly, Malik Willis is unmixed version of Patrick Mahomes. He's the next big thing, man. I love Malik Willis.
Yeah, I was high on Malik Willis in the draft. I thought he was going to be the best quarterback in that draft. I mean, granted,
Definitely
there
better
wasn't
than
much to
Kenny
compare
Pickett.
to because it was arguably the worst in the past decade. But when he was at Liberty, man, was he good. He was so much fun to
He was
watch.
fun to watch in Liberty.
He was like a mini Lamar. He was so exciting.
Oh, yeah. Also, shout out Geno Smith, too. Shout out to Seattle Seahawks, man.
Thank
Shout out
you.
Geno Smith.
No.
Appreciate that. Love the respect. Love it. Hunter?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it on football too. I can't wait for the Packers-Vikings game. I can't wait for the Jefferson and Jair Alexander matchup again. It's always fun to watch. I promise you there'll be at least 2 flags for unsportsmanlike conduct between those two.
to
But
that.
I think the Packers are the Vikings' first test on the road. They have played the 49ers, and they did look very good, but I don't think that Sam Darnold and the Vikings will continue the same trends against the Packers.
Ooh, hot take. I said the opposite, actually. I think that the Vikings are the real deal now that they're like 3-0. I mean, I thought they were frauds at first, but I don't know, man. I think they might win the division now. I hate to say that because I do like the Packers, but
I mean, I'm just scared of an Aaron Jones revenge game.
oh
That's
my
what's
gosh,
getting me.
That's what it
it's
is.
inevitable. It's inevitable. I hate to say
it's
it.
probably gonna happen, unfortunately.
But my final thought, I was actually talking about this right before the show. It's with Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez becomes the second player in MLB history to record 20 home runs and 20 steals in each of his first 3 seasons.
Who's first?
I have no idea. I just got the notification, so.
Yeah, and next Wednesday, the postseason will be underway. So
Isn't that hard to believe?
Brewers
It's-
will have a game under their belt, so we'll
it's-
see how that goes.
Yeah, it's coming up real fast. I mean,
Yeah.
this whole
Wonder if the
season
White
just
Sox
flew by.
What if
White
the White
Sox
Sox will grab that
Yeah.
121st loss?
Oh my
That's
Hopefully.
The
inevitable.
fact that the fans are
Hopefully.
actually rooting for that now just makes it
Hey,
so much
if you're-
better.
if you're
Last
so,
night was
so
kinda
bad,
funny.
might as well make history with it, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm also looking forward to hockey coming up. That's, I believe, I was just told what the first day was, and I'm blanking. I know it's
gonna be
I know it's
early
like the
October.
second. Yeah, it's early October, but I forget the day. But that's going to do it for today's Wednesday edition of Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. We're going to send it back to some hip hop for Hip Hop Hump Day on the station. Have a good one.